Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy, and in today's video I'm going to be giving a tour and an update on all of my basement aquariums as well as my koi pond in my backyard. I currently have 5 aquariums set up down here with a lot of plans to upgrade in the very near future, so I'm going to give a thorough update before I make some of those changes so you get the current lay of the land. My brothers Quinn and Alec recently did tour videos of their aquarium setups, and now it's my turn. After you watch those 3 videos, make sure to comment down below which brother's setup you prefer the most, and let's dive right in. Okay, so we're going to start with the 180 gallon aquarium behind me and then kind of make our way through the basement and then lastly to the koi pond. So here is my 180 gallon South American cichlid tank. I currently have 1 big Oscar front and center. I also have 7 Geophagus topos. I have a Geophagus steindachteri, a Jurupari, a black Acara, along with an electric blue Acara, 3 Severums, and I'm missing one, the Bala Shark. The Bala Shark is the one non-cichlid in this tank. The fish in this tank are getting really big and kind of nearing their adult sizes, I would say, except for the Oscar, which still has quite a bit of room to grow. One of the main updates in this tank is that the Geophagus topos have been breeding off and on. I haven't been able to catch it on camera, and none of their fry or eggs last very long, but they have paired off and I've seen the breeding activity from afar. As you can see, 2 of the 7 are very colored up and they have the bright red head. The other 5 have really colored down, and I think that's just due to some of the aggression and the breeding activity with this pair. This is a different type of Geophagus, the steindachteri, and it's a female that I've had for about 2.5 years. Most of the fish in this tank I've had about 3 years, with the exception of the Oscar and the chocolate cichlid, which were in the past year and a half or so. I get a lot of questions about how I keep my tank and especially my sand so clean. And I do have a couple powerful filters along with a Cichlid wave pump, which keeps the water moving and debris from collecting on your sand. But also the fish I have help a lot. All these different Geophagus species are constantly sifting through the sand, kicking up some of that uneaten food or debris so that the filtration can pick that up and clear it out of the water. Not only is that behavior very cool to watch, but it's also very beneficial for the aquarium, and I think that's just why I'm obsessed with Geophagus species overall. My 3 Severums are doing great, along with my red shoulder Severum here, who's starting to get more of that color in his face and that red shoulder. And they've been great tank mates for a lot of my other South American cichlids in this tank. There aren't many updates or changes on the horizon for this tank. I'm really just going to be monitoring the current fish and watching them grow into their full adult sizes. One other question I get very often is what type of food I give the South American cichlids. I usually go with extreme, either flakes or pellets. The krill flakes are great, along with the big fella and peewee cichlid pellets that sink to the ground pretty quickly. Okay, so now a piece of news that's a bit hard to share. I did lose a fish out of this tank recently. You may have seen that the true Parrot cichlid has been absent, and that's because he didn't make it. I did share that he had a bit of white spot on his head, which wasn't hole in the head disease, and it wasn't any type of disease that I had seen before. So what I think happened is that he was either spooked and hit some type of decor, which started that cut that was then infected. But the other option is that either the chocolate cichlid or the Oscar decided to attack him one day and maybe cut him on the head. With either of those options though, it seems pretty strange to me, as the parameters in the tank were completely fine. 0 ammonia, 0 nitrates, and below 5 parts per million for nitrates. And I was increasing the amount of water changes I was doing during this treatment period, and none of it seemed to work. I did treat the entire tank with a couple different rounds of medication. I tried Parrot cleanse from Fritz, and then I also went through some C-Chem Canaplex. Obviously treating 180 gallons is a lot of money for medication, but I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay in this tank. But that white spot continued to grow over his head and over his gill, and after a few days he just didn't make it and I found him floating. It's tough to lose a fish, but especially a large cichlid with a bunch of personality like the true Parrot. It was one of my favorite fish with a ton of great color, but it's just something that I will learn from and try and be better because of it. I'm really bummed to share that news, but obviously want to be transparent on the channel and share the good and bad. So with that being said, let's get back to some of the more positive things down here in my basement. So right next to the 180 gallon Cichlid tank is this 48 gallon saltwater reef tank. This is the first saltwater tank I've ever had, and it's been running for just under a year. I just did a video on adding corals to this tank. They are just starting to grow a little bit more, and I'm getting more and more into some of the different corals that can go into this tank. I just got a recent toadstool coral, which looks great. My Duncan coral has really taken off and is a huge colony at this point. And then my black torch is doing really great, and I love the movement that it provides in this tank. Overall, it's a very gradual process with the reef tank and just watching it grow slowly, but I am enjoying the process for now. So then moving along to what is behind these two tanks is the start of my fish room. There are going to be a ton of changes on this fish room as I start building it out, and it might be one of my next videos. Currently in this room I have 3 tanks, starting with my 33 gallon flex tank with African shell dwellers. This tank could use some work because there's a lot of algae buildup on the glass and on the sand and rocks, but I was really trying to avoid disturbing the shell dwellers as they kind of make the tank their own home, and there are tons of little babies throughout these shells. So I wanted to be careful that I wasn't disturbing that too much. However, it is testing my OCD a little bit because I want to clean this tank more.
Jacques, I said no cleaning. I am ashamed.
Parameter wise, everything is really solid. It's just a little more algae than I typically would keep in my tanks. These guys might get a rescaped and upgraded tank soon, so more to come on that. These guys have multiplied very quickly. I started with only 8 adults, and now I probably have 30 plus shell dwellers in this tank, and more to come on this tank very soon. And then over on the other wall is my 75 gallon cichlid tank. It's currently mostly South American cichlids with 1 Central American cichlid. I currently have 6 Geophagus finni, and they are one of my all-time favorite fish, and they might be my favorite cichlid at this point in time. I also have 5 electric blue acaras, I have 1 severum, I have 1 Nicaraguan cichlid. I also have my 2 exotic plecos. Here is one of them in this driftwood. They don't come out very often, but they are growing slowly, and they are pretty awesome to see sometimes. All of these fish have more room to grow, and they have the biggest upgrade to anything in my basement coming very soon. I can't wait to show that. It will be coming in the next month. The full build will probably be completed in the next 2 months, and all of these fish will be getting a massive upgrade that I cannot wait to share on the channel. The Nicaraguan cichlid is the one fish in this tank that doesn't really fit because it's a Central American cichlid, and I really want the next upgraded tank to be a South American biotope. So I might be moving this Nicaraguan cichlid either to another tank that I set up or looking to rehome him. I do have a friend in the hobby that could potentially add him to a very large tank, and hopefully at that point I won't have to worry about some of her aggression while she lays eggs all the time, and she really makes a mess of the tank, moving sand everywhere, piling it up in corners. So beautiful fish, and I really like the Nicaraguan cichlid, but it might be time that I move on from her. All of the Geophagus finni are doing really well and growing and have amazing color already. And then my electric blue acaras, I have had one of these for over 2 years, but the other 4 were relatively new, and they're growing pretty quickly as well. And then under my 75 gallon tank, I actually set up a 10 gallon quarantine tank, which currently holds a juvenile chocolate cichlid. So I guess I lied when I said I had 5 aquariums set up. I currently have 6 if you count this one. This chocolate cichlid is not going to be for me. I am holding on to this for the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Billy Donovan. If you are new to the channel, we set up a custom aquarium for Coach Donovan, and we're helping him when adding fish or just general maintenance on that tank. So can't wait to show an updated video when we add this chocolate cichlid to Coach Donovan's tank in the near future. And then lastly, back out in the main room near the other tanks, I do have a desktop aquarium. This is a water box cube, and it currently has an apistogramma with some live plants and some sand and rocks. This apistogramma has been awesome. It's definitely been like a friend to me as I am working at this desk, as I'm working from home.
Just the two of us.
But this apistogramma is fairly large and is actually going to be a part of the upcoming changes and upgrades very soon. Okay, so that does it for all the aquariums. Let's go head out to my backyard for the koi pond. Okay, so here's the koi pond in my backyard that I restored last year. I currently have a net over the pond here to prevent some of the debris and some of the leaves that are falling from landing in the pond. I'm continuously scooping out leaves from the skimmer and just with a net, and this will help repair the pond as we head into winter. The koi have gotten pretty big over the last year plus. The biggest one here probably already at a foot or so in length, but similar to last winter, I will put a floating heater on the pond, which will just keep a circle of the ice open during the winter so that there's some oxygen still going into the pond itself. The koi I had last winter made it through this hibernation mode without any issues, and I'll start seeing them move and swimming around again when it gets warmer in the spring. Okay, so that does it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the tour of all my aquariums. As I mentioned, there's going to be a lot changing in the near future that I can't wait to share on this channel. Make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of those updates. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.